Hey everyone, I'm Will.
And I'm Caleb.
Welcome to the Retrek Review Podcast, a podcast where we talk about every single episode of Star Trek chronologically. But here's the best part. Caleb hasn't seen a single episode.
What is Star Trek? Is it like Star Wars? I've seen Star Wars.
So don't click off this video, because if you do, you won't see Caleb's unique view of what the episode we're about to watch is.
I hated it.
You heard it here. Computer, begin program.
Increase to full power!
Gives me the creeps. I feel like something's watching us.
Savick, you go right on quoting regulations.
Hello, computer.
I knew I would.
You betrayed your uniform!
Target their cargo hold. Time to take out the garbage.
Smooth as an android's bottom, eh, Data? I beg your pardon, sir.
Aspires to be better than I
Come on. It's gonna be fun.
5 years in space. God help me.
This is the best day of my life! A phaser? You didn't use it? Swords are fun.
Program complete. Enter when ready.
Okay. Welcome back to another Retrek Review, where each week we talk about Star Trek. And this week we're talking about episode 16 of season 2 of Star Trek The Next Generation. And that episode is entitled Q Who. It originally aired May 8th, 1989. It was an episode written by Maurice Hurley, who also had part in writing Hide and Q, Data Lore, the Binar episode, Heart of Glory, The Arsenal of Freedom, The Neutral Zone, The Child, and Time Squared.
Bunch of sexy episodes.
That's right. It was directed by Rob Bowman, a returning director who had also directed the episodes Where No One Has Gone Before, The Battle, Too Short a Season, Data Lore, Heart of Glory, The Child, Elementary Dear Data, A Matter of Honor, and The Dolphin. The synopsis for Q Who is Q throws the Enterprise into uncharted space where it encounters and is engaged by a dangerous alien vessel of a previously unknown species, the Borg. When the vessel instantly and effortlessly overwhelms the Enterprise, Picard realizes that the Federation may not be as ready for the future as he thought. We had some additional guest appearances this week. We had John Delancey as Q. We had Lycia Naff as Ensign Sonia Gomez, a character actor in several TV shows. Probably the most famous thing that she's been in is Total Recall, where she plays a very famous character in that movie. She
Wow.
also plays that person.
Wow. Well, I think she's just great in this episode.
Yep.
Yeah, she was so good in this episode.
Also, we had Colm Meaney as Miles O'Brien.
Colm
Meaney. And Whoopi Goldberg as Guinan.
Whoopi Goldberg.
So before we move on to supporters of the podcast, let's go over to Caleb and ask Caleb what he thought of the episode.
Oh man, what a flop this week, huh? Just boring. So that's a lot funnier knowing that you can see like my live reaction to this episode. Although
Yeah.
I don't think I really.
You're like this the whole time.
I wasn't like I wasn't like Macaulay Culkin the whole episode, but yeah, obviously this is a good episode. I enjoyed it. It wasn't just because I got to watch it with you. It was because I actually enjoyed Q this episode. I'll be honest. I hate even saying that out loud.
Okay.
But I did. I enjoyed him. Unlike normal it seems like he actually had something to like prove to them or like
Sure.
explain to them, and almost like in his own bad way, he like helped them,
Yes.
which I have not seen him do thus far.
Right. Yeah.
It's just been a lot of just serving his own, amusings.
Yeah.
This actually felt like he is kind of subtly helping.
I agree.
So I enjoyed that, and obviously I know about the Borg. I've seen the Borg. I think even
You
people who
dressed up
don't
as the
watch,
Borg.
I did dress up as a Borg. I think even people who don't know Star Trek know what the Borg is.
Yeah, it's
So,
that would yeah.
so it was nice to see it finally. I was wondering when they introduced that stuff.
It was
Seems like
pretty
they're,
funny that you were like chomping. You were like, no Romulans, no Q, and when are they introducing the Borg? And I was just thinking, just hold on. We're just a couple episodes away.
well, those are the main three, right? I mean, those are.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you. It was just really funny. So what would you rate the episode then?
Oh, you know what? There's not that many episodes left. Let's be generous. I'm sure my opinion will change at the end of this episode and also when we do the look back of season two. But I'm going to give it a 3 Okuda.
It was fast and then it was inexpensive
I
and
feel
that's
like this
how
is a
we made
fan
Star Trek.
favorite episode. It sets up a lot of bigger stuff. So let's just
I
do it.
agree.
I'm wrong, but it's fine.
Send it
Like I always say, Will, it's okay to be wrong
for other people to be wrong.
for other people. Yeah.
Well, very good. Yeah. No, there's definitely I don't know. I mean, obviously we'll get a nice comment from Ed Markstar and Captain Alimar and Daystrom Review, and from my office we'll
Hmm.
get comments from all those guys, and they'll express their opinions on it. But I generally am going to say that this is kind of like The Measure of a Man, where it's kind of arguably one of the episodes that like every single person talks about when referring
Yeah.
to Star Trek, even at
Seems
least
like it.
season two.
Seems like it. While
So
watching it, it seemed like it was a big, kind of important thing that I was witnessing.
yeah. The other interesting thing is, I don't remember what year it was, but a number of years ago, probably at least 10 to 15 years ago, they were slowly remastering all of the Next Generation episodes and putting them
Hmm.
out on Blu-ray before they nicely came to streaming platforms. And to get people pumped to buy the Blu-rays and like take notice of the changes and enjoy it, they released episodes in theaters.
Oh,
And myself and my parents went to the mall and went and watched The Measure of a Man and Q Who. They played two episodes
interesting.
back to back.
Back to
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was pretty cool. So I've seen both of these episodes remastered on the big screen. It was pretty cool.
That's a cool memory.
Yeah. Well, that's what Caleb generally thought of the episode. But before we get into the full review, let's first, right off the bat, and then come over here and just and thank Ed, Mark Starr, and Captain Olimar for their Patreon support. We appreciate them helping keep this show on the channel, keeping it afloat. And we especially thank Ed Mark Starr for keeping us calm when we spill our hot chocolate on Captain Olimar and maybe get frazzled when people around us die. And we appreciate Captain Olimar for not really losing his temper when he gets hot chocolate covered all over him, but knowing when he's been beat.
Mm, that's good.
So, as we have said multiple times, Caleb and I are filming off days, so we don't have comments in front of us to read during Q Who tonight. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't keep commenting. We obviously will get to them, as you heard in Pen Pals. We kind of doubled up on some comments by Captain Olimar and Ed Mark Starr. So don't be afraid to keep on commenting. We'll get back on our normal weekly schedule.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. And they're gonna be double.
double, triple, quadruple.
Double the fun.
But we did have a new subscriber just minutes ago.
Whoa.
And that new subscriber is Iron Wolf 1776. And let me tell you, Iron Wolf, loving the shades.
Thank you for subscribing, Warrior.
So normally Ed Mark Star and Captain Olimar get their comments read during the podcast, but since we're filming on an off day, we're not able to. But if you want your comments read like they normally would, head on over to Patreon, find a tier that best works for you. But if you don't find that that's something that works for you, you can always just wait a day, so maybe a week, and you can watch our other video series, Hailing Frequencies Open, where we try to read all the comments left on our reviews. So, without any further ado, let's get straight into the review. So I thought it was funny. I think you and I both, at the moment we laughed, was when Ensign Gomez is like, "You better be nice to AI." I was like, "Yes."
It was funny. I didn't mention it while we were watching it, but I think you and I use GPT for a few things here and there. Do you carry on like normal conversations and like say thank you?
Yes.
Yeah, I do too.
I don't like, I don't know. I say like, like hello and thank you and like that's nice. That's cool. Dude, can you do this? But I don't really like super treat it like a person.
Well, that's where you're wrong. You gotta treat it like a person. I
guess like I don't become overly familiar with it, I guess is the best way to say it.
So I've programmed into my GPT that like I call it Jarvis.
Yeah.
And it calls me boss.
Okay.
So we have a pretty close relationship.
Cool.
But it's just funny because like I naturally do that. And like that's just the way I like type. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a cool idea. Thanks. Let's expound on that. I like that. That's cool.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, thanks. It does sometimes feel like you're talking to something.
Oh, totally. Yeah, it does respond pretty well.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And it's funny. So I do that anyway. And then not too long ago, I saw this meme where it was like,
oh yeah,
the Terminator, right?
Yeah,
where he's like shooting everybody, and he's like,
and
"You always said thanks."
Yeah. I've seen the cartoon where they're like that he's like shooting everybody, and then a whole bunch of Terminators are like bringing this guy forward, and they like scan him, and they're like it says like Brian whatever, and it's like he always said thanks, and then they like let him go, they let him free.
Yes.
Yeah.
So not only is it nice, but you won't be enslaved by Skynet. So that's why I do it.
Joke's on us, the Skynet doesn't care.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, they don't have hearts or souls.
No, this is like, nah. They'll say thank you, and then they'll shoot us. Another part that made me laugh. So she gets hot chocolate orders that, and then goes into engineering for whatever reason.
Milk, chocolate, hot.
Scolding. And then she says, "Oh my, I've spilled hot chocolate over you, Captain." And he goes, "Indeed."
I know. Yeah, I know.
Really
it is that scene does go on a little too long where she's like cleaning off his uniform and like touching him.
Yes.
I thought that was a little much,
It's so very strange to think that episode, this very famous episode, introduces the Borg to the Star Trek franchise. It kind of changes Q a little bit in this episode. Like he does feel a little different. And every time I've seen the episode and it starts and it's her, Gomez, and she's bumping into Picard with hot chocolate, you're always just like, man, this is such a weird opening to this episode.
Yeah.
It's not like them going to another planet and finding another city or planet like scooped and like parts of the city are ripped up like were talking about. It's like, nope, it doesn't open up like that at all. It's Just a kind of a silly, weird, anxious time in engineering. And it just does like this hard, like literally like a finger snap, pun intended, of all of a sudden Picard's in the shuttle. But I do like when he comes into the
It's
shuttle,
interesting.
Q's like, and like
Hmm.
cleans the uniform. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Milk, chocolate, clean. Hmm. Yeah, it's
But
good. It's good. Is Gomez a returning character, or is that something you don't want to tell me?
I can't answer it.
Good. Can't wait to see you next week.
The thing I thought was also nice that I liked, and they do it, we're going to talk about it a little bit here in a bit. I like the fact that Q, like Picard, hits him with a lot of things. Like, hey, you said you were going to leave us alone. I told you never to come back. You said you weren't going to
Mm,
come back, and he's like, we're nowhere near your vessel. You know,
yes.
so
Q is like a genie. You have to be very specific.
very specific. Yep.
I don't want you interfering with the Enterprise. Well, we're not on the Enterprise. Got you again, Picard. Picard.
God.
Picard.
He's growing on you.
Yeah, he's growing.
He's growing like a fungus.
Yeah, like a cordyceps in my brain.
Yeah. You know, so we come back from the musical intro after Picard. It's revealed that Picard is on the shuttle and all of these things, and I just kind of felt that Ensign Gomez in general was kind of like a tryhard,
Hmm.
and it's like it's fine. It's fine. I get it. I'm not like upset with the fact that there's people in Starfleet like that because, of course, a lot of her arguments and a lot of her issues are relatively realistic to the world. But
Yeah.
it's also just like when you watch the entire episode and then look back, her character feels very like it's a puzzle piece that doesn't fit in.
I can agree with that.
It's almost like I don't know really why they hired this lady to
I
fulfill that role.
I kind of like the fact that not all humans are like perfect and polished in this universe.
Okay.
I enjoy that like people still have personalities and she's kind of a talkaholic and she talks when she's nervous and she wants to make a good first impression and she's on the best ship in the entire Starfleet and she starts off like really bad.
Yes, yeah.
I don't know. I kind of like that.
I can get behind that, yeah.
I like my humans flawed, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like an omelet.
Like in a no, I like a perfect omelet.
I thought it was funny that Guinan had like a sense of disturbance thing where she's like wandering 10 forward. Thought that was
Hmm.
kind of interesting.
She senses a disturbance in the force.
She certainly does.
And
Or
then they do
perhaps
cat hands.
the continuum.
Oh, the space-time continuum.
That's right. Um, Obviously Q enjoys being terrible.
Yeah.
He's like whispering into his ear and he won't find you. They will never look for you.
You shouldn't be here, Picard. Yeah, so this is the first like we're really hearing about like Guinan's backstory too.
Yeah. So before he brings them to 10 forward, the only thing I wanted to add was it's interesting that when they discover that Picard is missing, because Guinan calls to
Hmm.
the bridge, which obviously is nice that Riker is not like, he's like, what? Like, why are you calling? Because, like, this doesn't happen.
Yes.
But also, and then Deanna has, I don't remember if they set up why she's weirded out by where the captain is. Maybe she was looking for him or
I don't know.
something.
She just says, "Where's the captain?" And he says, "In his quarters."
Yeah.
I feel like everybody on the ship, though, they're constantly like, "Hey, why is that person like taking a break? Let's call him. Let's call him on the intercom. See what he's doing."
Yeah.
It's like, why do you have to inconvenience everybody? Because you're inconvenienced. It's just how it feels. It's just
It
how it
does. It
feels to me.
does. It does. The last couple
Like,
episodes
hey,
have been like that.
captain's not up here.
Let's call the captain.
Let's call the captain. I mean, Riker, I understand that you're in charge, but
Yeah.
and then even like last episode, right? Where he's like,
Yeah.
"Hey, Riker, take
Yes.
Zanunu down to the freaking thing and make sure
Yeah.
nobody sees or hears about it." He just gets down there and he's like, "Hey, Riker, I need you on the bridge, like right now."
So you can stand up here and watch it.
Like, what?
Yeah.
Why? You just, but you
Yeah.
just told him to go. Like, you just told him to leave, though. That's a small nitpick. I understand
Yeah, no,
that.
I totally understand. I don't disagree with you.
I hate it.
The thing that I thought was interesting is once they discover that Picard is missing, they then realize that the shuttle is missing in the thing, which I don't know. It
Mm-hmm.
just feels like that would have been figured out pretty quickly that like anybody in the shuttle bay like standing around and all of a sudden like a shuttle is missing would be pretty obvious. And it
Nah.
would
Now when you got
immediately
six of them.
report to to Worf, and then Worf would be like Commander and then tell them, and then it'd be like also Picard. But there was a line that
Yeah.
Worf said where after they're looking for the shuttle, he says something like, I've hailed it on all frequencies. There is no response.
I've hailed the shuttle on all frequencies. No response.
And then Riker tells Data to do like all these like specific type of scanning ways of like scanning for the shuttle. And I was
Yes.
like, wait a minute. And I don't know if it was just I misheard it. I don't know, but it just sounded like Worf saw it on sensors, hailed it with as many frequencies, like he set out all transmission frequencies. It didn't respond, and then they couldn't find it, and now they had to scan for it. That's what it sounded like, but it could have
Mm-hmm.
just been War. I think it was supposed to be that Worf broadcasted on all frequencies. There, he got no response, and so now they scan for the shuttle. But I almost feel like the way Worf said it didn't sound like that.
Yeah, I don't recall.
Just a
I
small
like the
bit.
fact that the shuttle pod was able to like leave the ship without detectors because Q did it.
Yes.
But it's funny. So there's not like plates in the floor
Oh, like
that would
sensor
sense like
plates.
weight
Yeah.
and distribution and all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, there totally is. They're just not writing to it this episode.
Yeah. But that's fine. I mean, it's Q. He can do whatever you want to do. And now that he's a
Yeah,
part of the crew, you have another giant. It's like now the Avengers have Thanos. So it's, it's great.
yeah, and I mean, and the reality too is he could make all the people in the shuttle bay just like walk the other direction and not look at the shuttles for X
He
amount of time. I really enjoyed him bouncing off the wall with that ball thing, and him just being like, he's like,
hmm
I time has no meaning for me. He's just like, wow, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. I'll just wait you
Yeah.
out.
Can't you go be bored somewhere else?
Picard's like, bring me back to my ship. Blah, blah, blah. He's angry and angry. And Q's like, I'll bring you back, but you just have to promise you'll listen to me. And if you listen to me, then I'll bring you back. And then that's all he needed.
Yeah.
All he needed was an invitation.
I want to be an ensign.
So puts him back on 10 forward. We learn here, like you said, that Guinan's name apparently isn't really Guinan's name.
Mm-mm.
A lot of interesting backstory. That she's very old and that a Q considers her a threat, right?
Weird, right?
Because he wasn't like, oh boy, she felt like she could compete against him, and he felt like he had to attack her. So that's
Mm-hmm.
it's an interesting thing to deal with.
It is interesting.
Then the part made me laugh is they're going back and forth with each other, and then Riker and Worf come in. And he's like, the redoubtable Commander Riker. And microbrain growl for me.
Yeah.
And then Worf just immediately approaches him, and then Picard's like, no, 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 no.
Yes. He did not growl for him.
No. I will remove him from 10 forward. So we learned something cool here, which I thought you would appreciate, that after all the nonsense in Encounter at Farpoint and Hide and Q, the Continuum asked Q to leave the Continuum.
Yeah.
And we learned from Guinan that the Q in general are not Some of them, she said, can even be respectable. Like they're not all terrible like
Yeah.
this Q.
Which
So
further emphasizes my point that he is an annoying, arrogant, stupid, poorly written character.
yes,
His own people don't like him, so justified.
he makes a funny claim that he wants to join the crew, but obviously that's just a ploy. He doesn't really want to join the crew. He's just trying to
Yeah.
make them think that. He just wants them to admit that they're dumb and stupid and need his help, and that I don't know.
It's
He just
true.
basically wants Picard to take a knee and admit that he's not as so powerful and awesome as he thinks he is, and that he needs
Mm-hmm.
somebody like Q. So that's really the only reason he's projecting that he wants to be on the Enterprise.
Yeah.
But there, I like.
Yeah, I didn't think at any point like did he actually want to be like a crew member?
No, there's no way. Um, I did like the bit where Guinan and Q go back and forth, and Q says they have no idea what awaits them out there. And she says they will learn and adapt.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's interesting. It's interesting that she's been there the whole time, but she's also like knows that they're in over their head kind of, you know?
Yeah. I personally enjoy this aspect to Star Trek. I like that Star Trek is usually cheery, and when they confront alien species that like usually they can either like if it's the Romulans, you just kind of got to out talk them, outsmart them. If it's the Klingons, you just have to be respectful and honor them, and basically, if they want to fight, give them a fight. If
Yeah.
or leave them alone. Like there's a way to handle each species, and I appreciate that, and I enjoy the fact that it's usually like an upbeat. Everything's good in the future, and everything is cheery. I do generally enjoy that, but I also like the thought that there are just things out there that are terrible. They're
Yeah.
horrifying, and like you're not ready for the level at which it's going to be bad. Like I feel like this episode changes the general tone of it just a little bit. Like
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that.
so
It's
I
kind of arrogant to think that you would be
yeah.
prepared to go into space. It's like going down to the Titanic. Like,
Mm.
that's not really a thing that like we can just jump aboard and do like jumping on a plane.
Right. See with the skitter bugs definitely sprinkles that in,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah, but this feels more real and
yes.
grounded.
Yes. Right, exactly. Exactly.
It does take this episode does take like a tonal shift of it's bad out here, like we're
Yeah,
not prepared.
like we're up against it pretty good. And then Picard doesn't back down. He has a good speech, like he kind of, it's like one of those things where he is arrogant, but like it's like he's arrogant in a positive way. And Q's like, all right, and then he propels them out and 2 years away from their location, at least that maximum
Yeah,
warp. And then he says this line: "The hall is rented, the orchestra engaged. Now it's time to see if you can dance."
I do like that line.
It's a good line.
Thought it was good. You want me to say I'm scared? Well, I'm scared.
So at any point up until
No,
okay, but then when you saw it out the window,
no.
oh,
Yeah, when I saw the cube, I was like, I know about the cube.
I know all about the cube.
Hey,
Yeah.
isn't this the thing in that game that you did that's really bad if we get to this, we're
Yeah, as I
basically have
say,
to
you
start
totally haven't
over?
painted a cube before.
Yeah, I knew about the cube.
So you must have been legitimately surprised. Like,
Oh yeah, I of all episodes for them to just throw this into, I was like, I didn't expect the board to be in this episode. It's a Q episode, first time he's been back in 15 episodes.
right.
So I was expecting just that shenanigans, and then when the cube shows up, I was just like, oh, so
Oh,
because I
we're
don't even
doing.
think my brain when he was like, there's really bad stuff out here that you can't even comprehend.
Oh, I see.
Like at no point was my brain like, oh yeah, probably like the Borg.
Well, I remember when he says it, you jokingly said the Gorn.
The Gorn, yeah, they're real bad. They're so bad they don't even talk about them.
That's right.
And Starfleet's hid the Gorn War for generations.
Yep. But then we get Guinan's view screen, which was weird that they had her do that when you made the great comment that like she could see it out the window. But
So she's in 10 forward. She has 40
like for
windows in there.
yeah,
She's looking right at the cube.
right.
And they're like, hey, go to your monitor. And she's like, all right. And she goes into this closed office and then looks at a screen.
Right.
Like, yep, that's what I saw out the window. It's
He's
the
like, "Do
same,
you
the
see what we're
same.
seeing?" She's like, "Yes."
Now I do.
I get it's maybe because they can zoom in and look at stuff on the monitor that she can't do with her own eyes, but yeah,
I
it
don't know.
was funny. It was funny. I think it was just
Maybe because that's the only way she can communicate is at the desk, other than standing
I mean, she
by
could
the
stand at
bar
the
and looking out the
bar,
window.
I
I don't know.
guess. Yeah, I don't know. I think what hindered the scene was literally showing her look at it out the window. I think if they didn't show that and they were just like, "Hey, can you go to your
Yeah.
office to look at this thing?"
Hmm.
Then it would have made sense.
Yeah, because guess what? The cube could have been on the other side of
Other
the
side
ship.
of the ship, right? Or they
Mm,
could have had the board come from the back of the ship. 10
I don't
back.
know. That's later on in the episode.
Yeah, it's true. Oh my
Oh
god.
my God.
I just want
Fire
people like
reverse faces.
I just want some guy like on a treadmill running and then you see him like in the glass. Bump 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 boom 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 bump boom. This is getting closer. Yeah, and then there appears a Borg.
Wom, 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 wom,
Womp.
wom, wom, wom.
And then the
Jordy
little
is way too lackadaisical about some creature showing up.
robot man show. Then the arm,
Uh,
right?
yeah. Boop beep bop bop boop boop. I don't know, Captain. He just kind of showed up. He appears to be downloading all of our data.
Sensitive information.
You know, anything about us that you wouldn't want him to have. He it looks like he's downloading it now.
Yeah.
I don't know. Should we like? That's why I called you. I don't know. I don't know what to do.
Well, this is the halfway point, so go down to the comment section and write Borg.
The Borg.
So yeah, we come back and Borg is investigating engineering. Like, interesting. Okay, that looks very interesting here. This looks very
This is all.
interesting.
It's all pretty weird.
And everybody's like, I don't know what he's doing. I don't get why that's happening. And then
Why are
Picard's
we
like,
letting this happen?
yeah. And then Picard's like, hey, we're not gonna hurt you. We just want to talk to you. And Q's like, he doesn't care about you.
Yeah, he's not worried about you. You're so insignificant
Right.
that you might as well just be ants.
Right. It's just like, yeah.
So are you ready to give me my com badge yet? Or
like, do I have like a quarter on the ship? Or did you like program my favorite meals in the replicator? Like, I don't.
so if I just say anything, it'll create it, or
So, of course, the
you're gonna give me
Borg.
my own crew to study rocks next week, or
Like, I gotta be put in charge of a crew. So, do I get to talk to a little girl on
I
another planet?
I only work with couples.
But then obviously the Borg starts to like hack into the Enterprise and Picard's done with that. So he's like, Lieutenant. And then Worf's like, Ensign.
Lieutenant.
And I was like, why? I get it. It's because he's got to get whipped across the room. But I just don't
Yeah.
understand why that couldn't be Worf.
But if it was Worf, then we would know, like, oh man, these things are really strong. I don't know how strong that guy is. I
right.
assume not very strong at all.
I think it's because they wanted Michael Dorn, Worf, to do the phaser shots to look more cool, but it's like
Mm.
you could have had anybody do that, but it's okay.
Well, it was pretty cool.
It was. I did like how I did like how the ensign comes over to him and the Borg's like, no. And he flings him across the room, and then the Borg goes back to hacking, and then he just slowly turns and looks at the group of them like, that's right, still doing this thing.
Mhm.
Still getting all your
Yeah.
data. It was very
Anybody
smug.
else
Very
feel
smug.
brave?
Yeah, exactly. And then he should, Worf apparently tries to stun it. That doesn't work, so he increases it to kill. It drops the Borg, and you're like,
Increase to full
wow.
power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Borg goes down. And then another one just beams in, and he's just like, all right, well,
Num,
just
num,
gotta
num, num,
just
num,
gotta go
num,
back to hacking
num.
this thing. Didn't get all that data. And so then Worf goes to shoot it, and it's just like, no, nah, shields. We got shields now.
I enjoy that. I thought that was cool, actually. That oh
Yeah.
yeah, so you killed one, but then it like immediately learned like, oh okay, so we just need to
Like, oh,
have
okay,
these
this is
type of
this
shields.
like, oh, okay, this is how your phasers work. We'll just we'll modulate, put some
Yeah,
defenses on this guy. No problem.
it's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and the remastering makes it look excellent. Makes it look excellent. Because in like the original thing, it's very like just like a blurred box when they shoot at him. It's just like blah.
Wah, 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 wah. It's just eating it.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool too. That I do like the panel.
Yeah, me too, yeah. But the other really interesting thing is after that Borg, the second Borg, got what he wanted, he was just like, all right. He's like, well, this looks pretty good on this guy, and that looks, I gotta have that back. We gotta have that piece. Oh, and this piece has got to come with me. And then he beams away, and then the other one beams away. He like harvests
Yes,
his other guy.
which I get, but if you're both
Going back, like you don't
going
need
back
that.
to the ship,
But you know what it is? I thought about it after the scene concluded and Guinan talks next.
hmm
I thought, what if you just take defunct, like damaged slash dead or mainly broken droids to like a different area? Like they beam it directly into like a reprogramming area, and he took off like essential pieces to put on like a new drone.
Mm.
Like they're getting both beamed up to the cube, but they're going in separate places. So he's taking like critical components to add to, other drones near him, and the
That's
other
true.
drone who's like, I guess, dead or damaged or whatever is going into like some sort of regeneration thing.
It's a good point.
Very interesting. I do in general, obviously I'm a big fan of the Borg, so I enjoy the whole sequence where they're in engineering and they're very sinister. And they don't really honestly do much of anything other than shove that guy. They really honestly don't do anything. But they're very sinister.
hmm
Guinan fills in a card about her past, that they were hunting down her people and they barely escaped, and basically like they're not going to give up. They don't care about you. They won't stop until they feel like they have enough and
hmm
all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they can't stop, won't stop.
That's right. It's an interesting thing that they present with her.
I did enjoy it, yes.
Yeah, she basically says that they don't negotiate with people. Then they hail. I remember they hail, and then like the Borg just completely ignore and then inform them that they will punish them if they attempt to defend themselves again.
We
So
have scanned your weapons. You are no match.
yeah, and then he's like,
If you resist, you will be killed.
and then a really Q taunts them on the monitor, which is really funny. Ooh, he's like, ooh, that looks dangerous.
Mm.
Then it's time for them to go to the bridge because tractor beam, right? And
Tractor
they all
beam.
pour out of the observation lounge, and Guinan just stays in the chair. She doesn't go anywhere.
Yep. She's like, "Can I get back in the window?" Or
Like, what do I just stay here? And then they go out, and a pretty crazy scene happens where the tractor beam is on it, and then all of a sudden the Borg are just like, we'll just take this part out. Let's look at that.
that was pretty cool. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Like, all right, we understand the computer and how the power runs, and we understand the type of EPS flow and how they operate their systems. Now let's just take a big chunk of it out and just like analyze its structure.
Yeah, it's pretty scary.
Yeah, and the Enterprise has no means of defending it, like at all.
Nope.
Now they do
And they
fight
all
back,
died.
and they all died.
They're all in space now.
And I like how it's like, oh no, all these terrible things have happened. It's really bad. What should we do? And it's like, and you said during the thing, you're like, I think I would back up. I would probably pull away and start heading back. And then he was like, Picard was like, you know what? Let's talk about this some more.
Yeah, let's go up to the ready room and just discuss this.
And they just meet Guinan back in the conference room and talk to her, and she just was there the whole time. She's like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
I knew this wasn't going to go well, so here, I'm still here."
They're like, man, we're lucky to be alive. Anyway, I think we should go on their ship. What do you guys think about that? You think that's a good idea,
She's
or
like, "That's a terrible idea. Don't go on the ship."
all right, two to beam up?
Jordy, I like the scene with Jordy and Gomez back in the engineering. She's freaking out about the dead people. He's like, I get it. It's terrible. It's awful, but like, we have to keep doing this or we're all going to die.
Yeah, shut up, go meet.
That's right. Otherwise, I'll pour hot chocolate on you.
Yeah, we'll have time to mourn the corpses later.
Just not now. I did like the bit where Picard and Q talk to each other, and Picard's like, please tell me, Q, that this is like one of your illusions, that we're fighting these things, and like, I didn't really lose 18 crewmen. And Q's like, no, this is all too real. And then Picard's like, are you kidding me? And he's like, oh, suddenly you get a bloody nose and you want to go crying back home. It's like, it's the whole point. Like, you're out here. This is the whole point, my friend.
Yeah, I know. I know. I don't like that I agree with him.
He
I
his
mean,
his
I get Picard's point. Like, you didn't have to kill people to
to make your point,
show us this. Yeah.
right? But you also get Q's point.
Yes.
Is like, no, there's stuff out here that you can't contend with, and you're going to lose people. And if you continuously be arrogant and an idiot about it, you're just going to lose more people.
Well, you know what's interesting too is Q spins them out here into space.
Mm-hmm.
And Picard's like, hey, this is really bad. We don't really know where we're at.
Right.
And Q told us there's really bad stuff out here. But you know what? Kind of feel compelled to keep going in this bad direction.
Oh, yeah. He totally does it to himself.
Yeah, he did.
100%. Yeah.
Please,
Because
Q.
he antagonizes Q in 10 Forward, that like basically like, no, we're ready for anything. It doesn't matter what you throw at us. I believe at this moment in time, we're ready for anything. And Q's like, really? And then he sends him out there. And then it's like, well, it's going to take us 2 years to get back. And so instead of him being like, all right, well, begin our 2-year journey back to Federation space, he's like, no, let's investigate.
Yeah.
So Q's
Well, our
lied to
job
him
is to see what's out here. And
yeah, it's basically like, don't go, into the woods. There's like a bear in the woods. And it's like, I'm not afraid of a bear. I got
how
bear spray.
far forward is it?
Right, right.
Like, I don't know, probably like 50 feet or so. Like, what if I go 43.9?
And then the bear eats one of his friends with him, and he's like, "What?" And he's like, "Dude, we told you not to go in the woods."
Oh, I guess it was a little closer than 50 feet. Oh, you want me to say I'm scared? Well, I'm scared. Okay. Yeah, it's funny. It's funny. The more we talk about this, the more I'm like, yeah, it's kind of Picard's fault.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Wow.
Obviously, Q has a hand in it, but really, at the end of the day, like Picard is definitely the one to keep pushing it forward.
Yeah.
It wasn't like Q was like, "Here is the cube, fight the Borg. Here they are. They're on the ship."
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like you said, they had a away team onto the cube, which is a crazy thing to do. I get Riker's line; it makes sense. I get like him being like, "Well, they came onto our ship, so it's time to show them a visit."
It's ridiculous.
But it's like what?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Like they've killed 18 people by pulling a section of the ship off. They've
Hmm.
hacked your engineering thing. They have
They've
all of your
also beamed
information.
in through your shields,
Oh,
which is, I hear is a big deal,
right.
And now you're
Yeah.
like, yeah, but what's the worst that can happen? Also, like,
I'm a main
you're
character. They
lucky
didn't
there's
kill me.
oxygen
Yes, that was a great point that you brought up. I was like, oh,
because,
that's
like,
true.
they're robots,
But they are partially
but they
organic.
give birth to live babies.
I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know. I don't know.
that all gets negated in season 3, I'm sure. How? How do they
I don't want to. I don't want
breed?
to. I don't want to. I don't want
I know there's a queen.
to. I know that's a queen. Tell me. I know
I
it.
know there's a queen. I've seen her face. She's beautiful.
All I'll say is that they introduce something with the Borg later,
Cool.
and that's all I'll say right now.
Yeah, there's a
It's
Picard version.
because in this episode they just established that like they take technology and then they take that technology and like put it on organic things and make them Borg. So
Mm,
that's kind of how this episode explains them. So obviously, as time goes on, they will be written a little differently.
gotcha.
Then they walk around the Borg cube, which was great, amazing. An actual set that feels like they're on a crazy robot ship. It was very good. I enjoyed it. You know, you think about like all the other stuff. They're like, we're on another person's ship, and it's like it's just a redressing of the Enterprise or some other boring bridge.
Oh yeah, this
It's
was
like,
not that.
no, not at all. Very, very good. I also really always super enjoy. I know they did it in engineering, but I like it even more so when they're on the cube that the Borg just completely ignore them. They don't even care. And Data speculates that like, well, possibly because they're like focusing on regenerating their ship, they're just putting all their time and focus onto that. But it's like
Hmm.
it's the point that you said too. It's like they don't think that you're a threat even though you are
Yeah,
physically on their ship walking around sensitive information and equipment. They're just like, we don't care.
yeah. Who cares? I like that. It's really funny too, that scene though where he's like, appears they're in stasis because they're using their hive mind to rebuild the ship, and Picard's like, they're rebuilding the ship. You gotta get out of there. Get out of there. It reminded me of the movie.
Oh,
There seems to be some sort of counting backwards
yeah.
numbers.
What does it sound like?
Sounds like beep, beep, beep.
4,
It's at like,
3.
yeah, they're definitely going down. The
Get off
numbers
the
are going.
ship! Get out of there! That's very funny. Only you would bring in a Search for Spock reference
Oh, that's
during
my
this
favorite.
movie.
Search
Yeah,
for
no.
Spock is the best movie.
I just love it. It's really funny. But speaking of Search for Spock, we do
Hmm.
get a very nice Data line where he says, "Fascinating," and I said, "Ooh,
I did like that,
that's
yeah.
very
Ooh.
Spock-like."
Oh yeah, right, because Data's supposed to be Spock, but there's no
Oh,
Vulcans.
but I'm ching.
But Chung,
Then they pan out, and they do that nice pan out, and there's millions of Borg,
millions
millions,
upon millions of Borg.
Borg.
I'm pretty Borg myself.
And then a couple walks down.
Hmm.
They get to those little space trays full of Borg, baby,
Baby.
Borg.
Borg, baby Borgs.
Yep. It's like, oh, just check. I just think how Riker pulls it in. He looks in and he's just like,
Hmm.
all right.
Seems to be some sort of small human.
With
I don't know.
plastic attached to him.
I've heard legend of how these are made, but I've never seen one.
Yeah.
I've never gotten that call.
Yeah. So a lot of this, like with the remastering, they make the pan away of all the Borgs look a lot better, and then also you can find them throughout a couple shots when they're walking down. They put the symbol of the Borg, this like red kind of curved hand looking thing, like a
I remember the symbol, yeah.
yes, they
It's almost like the
remastered it with it.
Oblivion handprint, yeah.
Yeah,
I thought it was green.
it can be green. It's usually red,
Uh,
but it can be
uh,
green. But they beam up to the bridge, and Picard's talking and doing stuff. If you look in the background, like John Delancey is 100% in the background for like a long time, and then it's like
hmm.
dialogue goes by, and then he turns around and he's like, "Oh, Picard!" It's really funny. I noticed
Oh,
that.
that's
Like
funny.
just from the
Yeah.
back, you could just he has like from the back of his head, you can tell it too.
I like when he continually like pops up in the chairs
Oh, at the end
and
when he's like
yeah, and
switching between
swaps
the people.
places. Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
pretty cool.
yeah. Well, this seems like a perfect time for trivia.
Oh, not again. All right, now you're overacting.
By the end of Next Generation's second season, the production budget would be running on empty, in part of Q Who. The episode that introduced the Borg reportedly went $50,000 over budget,
Oh my God.
thanks to the enthusiastic contributions of all the creative departments. Still, there's no denying that the money, as they say in the trade, was all up on the screen. That's particularly true for the knockout visual effects sequences carried by Dan Curry and his team. Their work established the template for Borg visuals in any subsequent episodes. Dan's biggest challenge in Q was a sequence where the Borg carve up the Enterprise like a roast.
Hmm.
Cutting a hole in the production's only filming model obviously was out of the question. So, Curry commissioned an oversized model of just the necessary portion of the saucer surface. He
No
also ordered
guts.
a model to represent the tubular core that the Borg remove from the ship, a small section of four decks that are stacked up like coins, as Dan Curry puts it. Details of that model included severed power cables, furniture, carpeting, and a Federation wall plaque. Everything a visitor, albeit a tiny one, to the Enterprise might expect to see on those decks. The core fit neatly into a hole cut in the oversized saucer segment and was pushed upward with a hydraulic ram to simulate the Borg's tractor beam action.
Hmm. Well, that's pretty cool.
Yep. And then here's
All right. Must be getting good at this because that was like my thought exactly as soon as I saw it was like, well, that was the entire production cost of this whole season right there.
oh, you immediately knew.
Hmm. What is this? The actual miniature? Nah, not
Yeah.
interested.
okay. and the script, the
The-
shooting script for the sequence.
These are a lot of rooms I've never seen. Like, well, there's this room where these two red chairs are in the pad itself facing each other. What if the board cut through that? Like, yeah, these two rooms have like full like logos and flags.
yep. yep.
Nah, never see those again. That's cool. Those are pretty cool sketches.
I agree.
Scene 41A. Tight on Enterprise hull. Borg cutting beam slices out a core sample. Tractor beam starts to remove it. It's cool, man.
Thought you would enjoy that.
I would like something like this in a frame. I bet that would be worth some money, like this legitimate.
oh, 100%.
That's pretty cool.
Okay.
I wonder where all that stuff ended up. Do you think he like keeps all that stuff in his box? Like
Some are still with the people, some went to lots and fans have it. It depends on what it is.
it,
And
it belongs in a museum.
yeah, well. Next, when costume
Ah.
designer Dorinda Rice Wood joined the Next Generation during its second season, she found that
Hmm.
certain established aspects of couture were off limits. I said, I would really like to redesign the uniforms, but they had spent so much money on them that they didn't want to change them. At least not at that point, she said with a sigh. Her most memorable contribution to the show were in the garments she created for new characters like Guinan and new aliens. And no new species made a bigger impression than the Borg. They were to be the new bad guys of the universe, Wood recalls. Typically, we were given a week to work on designs, but the Borg
Oh,
were, yeah, but the Borg were important enough that we were given 2 weeks.
oh, wow.
The
Easy.
producers, the producers wanted them to be scary, and part of that scariness was their
Hmm.
uniformity and their
Uniformity.
asexualness. I was tired of the streamlined stainless steel concept of scary, she says, quote unquote, and I was influenced by the work of H.R. Geiger.
Mm.
When you're working on Star Trek, she notes, cause and effect guide design, you have to think in terms of why they look that way, in addition to how they look. With the Borg, the idea was that the drones lived for centuries and that their body parts would wear out and be replaced with mechanical body parts. I wanted to show that they didn't wear out uniformly. So some of them had eye patches and some had fake legs or arms. I spent a lot of time in the hardware store, she says with a laugh, and got a lot of parts there. Plastic tubing and odds and ends, little pieces that we could paint and put together, and I found a company that had molds of various body parts like torso and leg pieces, which they could
Oh,
produce
like prosthetics?
very quickly. Yep.
Wow. Way to go. I like this lady.
Even though the drones shared a uniform look, Wood created a separate sketch for each one because they each had different artificial body parts, she explains. I developed a system around a fabric called popcorn spandex that Velcro adhered to. She backed the tubes and hardware parts with Velcro so that they would stick to the suit. That was great, she says. But all the little pieces were separate, so every time we put the costumes together, they had to be reassembled.
Yeah, you're not only designing like a new character, but you're also designing it in a way where the actors can easily put it on and off,
Right.
and you don't have to do a whole lot of like makeup every time.
Right. So the first picture
Oh,
here
yeah.
is a drawing from David Fincher and Rick Sternbach is the other one. That was like their initial sketches.
Cyborg number 2.
And then that's her, Dorinda Rice Wood. That's her working on, an actor in costume.
It's cool. I've seen this picture before.
Of her working.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's literally just spandex with a lot of tubes.
Oh, 100%.
It's just funny because like the production line of these is always just like, well, we need to make like ton of these like quick.
Oh, yeah.
But then when you have like fans that want to go through and like recreate like a pretty
Yeah.
accurate thing, they spend like thousands of dollars to like get all these specialized pieces that like don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
It hurts my brain. It's like they found, this tube on the sound stage and they just like glued it on. And now like there's a dude that'll like recreate the suit and it's like, well, this piece is, like from an actual equipment and it's like $400 because
Mm,
it's vintage and like he'll buy it just for that like tube connection piece. But that's how like a lot of this prop stuff goes.
I hear you.
Not me. I would never do anything so ridiculous. That's why I make things out
It's,
of foam.
I agree. Designing the Borg and Q-Who required close interaction between TNG's makeup and costume departments, with Dorinda Wood responsible for the drone's body, Michael Westmore covering the exposed body areas, primarily head, neck, and hands. Dorinda came up with a rough sketch that showed a man in a suit with tubes running around and attached to it. Westmore recalls the head area she kept deliberately vague. Once Wood selected the materials for the costume, Westmore had to integrate the headgear with the rest of the bodysuit. I built the original helmets in the wardrobe department while they were working on the suits, so we could communicate with each other and make sure that our respective designs were meshing properly. I made the headpieces out of foam rubber that would be
Nice.
comfortable for the actors and colored it to match the costume. The headpieces included little clamps so the tubing that Wood incorporated into the suits could easily attach. Westmore studded the helmet with little pieces of machinery, urethane parts cast from model kits, and bits of disemboweled electronics equipment. If we had a
Sounds a little
large
too Star Warsy to me.
It does a little bit. If we had a large exposed area of skin on the face or arm, I ran the tube directly into it. He continues, I created a latex appliance that looks like a bullet hole that glues onto the skin, and the tube glued right into the hole in the appliance.
Yeah, that's what makes it gross.
Yeah.
Is when tubes go into skin.
Yeah, that's gross.
They do a lot of that stuff in the new battles. Well, I say new, the newer Battlestar Galactica. It's a lot of like slimy biomechanical stuff. Yeah, it's real
Sounds
good.
Sounds
Yeah.
yummy.
Mm-hmm.
Westmore gave the Borg a zombie-like pallor, so viewers would know that they were seeing a creature that couldn't be reasoned or negotiated with. He explains the white makeup base that he used blocked out all of the natural skin tones, making them look as though the life has been leached out of them.
That's what makes it funny that Picard tried to talk to him then.
True, true.
Because they have like white skin with black veins.
True.
We mean you no harm.
To create headgear for the episode's Baby Borg, played by the son of Carol Eisner, assistant to line producer David Livingston, Westmore created a plaster cast from a similarly sized doll's head, then fashioned a tiny Borg headpiece.
Like a doll's head.
A black cord ran from the headpiece to the Tot's chest, where it attached with two-sided tape. They had to do several takes because the teasing baby became fixated with the cord and kept chewing on it.
Oh, nice.
Which the filmmakers deemed way too adorable for a baby Borg.
Plus, it's probably toxic, but that's beside the point.
Oh, yeah.
This was the 80s, man.
That baby's totally fine now.
He's dead. He's not alive anymore. Cool.
Yeah.
He looks like the Klingon guy with mechanical parts.
Yep.
Shoulder mount camera. Wow.
The script said that the interior of the Borg ship was endless as far as you could see. Production designer Richard James says, we didn't have that much space, so I raised my hand in the production meeting and said, how far is endless? To accomplish it, I thought I've got to make this like a hall of mirrors. Richard's concept, seen in the pre-production sketch, looked as if it could do the trick almost. Notes Richard, the only area that was a problem for Gene Roddenberry was the structure I'd created in the center, which Roddenberry pointed out conflicted with the desired endless vista. So out it went, resulting in an image that looked as if it had no top or bottom, nor up or down. Ultimately, most of it would be represented in a matte painting rendered by Illusion Arts' Sid Dutton. You'd be surprised how little there was of an actual physical set. Richard adds with a chuckle. No, that matte painting, recalls Dan Curry, was large, at least 6 feet by 6 feet, done in oils on masonite. It actually had a small hole in it, cut out so that the actress's live action could be inserted via rear projection. Dan Curry's team combined the elements by making 2 camera passes. We used a motion control camera system and shot only the painting on the first pass. On the second pass, all the lights were turned off so that only the projected live action could be photographed, he explains. We put some high-tech looking structures in the foreground, taken from a Legions of Power toy construction set to provide some scale and create multi-planning and a sense of three-dimensionality for camera pullback. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, Star Wars was doing the matte painting thing, you know.
Yeah, 100%.
It's
Oh,
a
yeah.
cool way to do it.
The last little bits here. The Borg were intended to provide the series with what the Ferengi had failed to deliver, a deadly, remorseless enemy that could not be reasoned with or defeated.
Mm. Well, the
So,
Ferengi too cute.
yeah, that's what they ended up feeling that the Ferengi were too comical, too silly, not threatening, got rid of them. It says, initially conceived by writer Maurice Hurley as a race of insectoids, Maurice had
Hmm.
originally planned the season one episode, The Neutral Zone, to be the first part in a trilogy that would introduce an entirely new threat to the Federation. That Federation and Romulan starbases along the Romulan neutral zone had been mysteriously wiped out. This was intended to lead into a series of episodes that would have introduced the Borg as a main villain in the wake of the Ferengi's failure to meet with audience expectations of a major Starfleet antagonist. Unfortunately, the Writers Guild strike of '88 prevented this from coming to fruition.
Mm.
Then Maurice Hurley finally got to proceed with the planned sequel in Q Who, but although only one passing reference was made of the strange destruction of outposts and referred to in the neutral zone, by Data stating it is identical to what happened to the outposts along the neutral zone. Then, budget constraints kept the Borg from being depicted as insectoids, as Maurice Hurley had originally intended, though the hive concept survived to become the overwhelming group mind known as the Collective.
Hmm. That's cool.
In addition, the Borg's unique cube-shaped ship and their eerie appearance reminiscent of H.R. Geiger and the cybernetic laser-eyed Lord Dread from the 1987 syndicated series Captain Power and the Soldiers of the Future all contributed to the Borg
Captain Power.
ascending to the height of villainy. So
Nice.
basically, I've read multiple things that I couldn't read you earlier that like the skitterbugs and the things getting scooped up in the neutral zone, like the outposts being destroyed in the neutral zone, were all supposed to be like the Borg, but
Oh, that's cool.
they couldn't do it because of budget constraints, because of time, because of writing issues, because of the strike, stuff like that. And so
Yeah.
finally, Maurice Hurley got to bring it to light with this episode.
Finally do something.
Yeah,
And look at it, it was interesting and people
yeah,
liked it. Well, that's weird.
yeah. The last two things, the Borg Collective voice heard in the episode was synthesized from the voices of Maurice Hurley, director Rob Bowman, and Bowman's assistant. Sound design and processing was done by Francois Blaguion using Symbolic Sounds' Kaima system. So when they talk, it's a whole bunch of guys from the production staff.
Mm.
And lastly, this episode won 2 Emmy Awards. It won for Outstanding Sound Editing for a series and Outstanding Sound Mixing for a drama series. And it was also nominated for Outstanding Achievement in Special Visual Effects.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah. Very cool.
Way to go.
Yeah. So that was trivia. We come back. Very cool to see the Borg shoot at the Enterprise and it lose shields and do all that. And it's like it's getting blipped and attacked and everything's dropping. I liked all that.
When it's chasing them, yeah.
Yeah, when it's chasing them. I also thought it was weird at first because like Worf is telling them every time they get hit, like that their shields are dropping and things are bad. And then they shoot one more time, and it was like, but the shields are at 0. But then they cut to Geordi in
Mm-hmm.
engineering, and he's like, we're out of warp. And I was like, oh man, they're hitting the actual like warp bubble that they generate in for to move through space. They're like actually like breaking the bubble
Yeah,
so that they drop out of warp. Thought that was cool.
it is pretty cool. It shows like just how like smart and calculated they are.
Yeah, and then the thing you've been quoting throughout, Picard confesses.
A
Warns
lesser
them.
man wouldn't have done it, Picard.
Yeah, it's an interesting back and forth between the two of them. You kind of get a little bit more insight into Picard, that like Picard isn't this type of like honestly, and I think you can agree with me, I don't think Kirk would have backed down.
Probably not. I don't know.
I don't feel like they would have had him confess to the entity that he was afraid. I think he would have had a speech to Q that like you know, like you knew that this was bad and you put us in this situation. And so now you should get us out of the situation. Like you knew what you were doing. How could you fault us for thinking we would do well when you knew that we
Yeah,
wouldn't do well? I feel like that would be more of like Kirk's approach rather than admitting that he's like weak.
I think you're probably right. Yeah.
Also, they heavily write Kirk to be a person who doesn't believe in a no-win scenario. So,
Mm,
and then the little chess game at the end with Guinan moving the pieces. Q warns them previously that you're not ready for what's out here. Like this is just the tip of the iceberg of what's really happening. But then Guinan
yeah.
kind of later in the episode tells them this really like chilling thing that like, oh no, they've experienced what you are, and you've made them curious, and they have
Mm-hmm.
information on you, so like they're coming.
Yeah, come on. I liked the moment with them at the end here. I kind of like that Picard almost kind of like, kind of commends that Q was doing this, like actually kind of helped them,
Oh yeah, yeah. Like he maybe not quite intended to do that, but
Hmm.
or he did. It's hard to
Yeah.
know, but regardless,
Perhaps in his own way,
perhaps in his
his
own way.
Q way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty good.
It's definitely an episode that pays off in a lot of ways, and it's the start, I would say, of like meaningful story writing. The series writes to this like a lot as it goes
Yeah.
on. And not just necessarily Borg and Q, just the fact of like stop thinking that everything is like gonna just be fine. Like space is bad. Space is good, but space is also bad.
Hmm. Yeah. It's not all gonna be,
Yeah.
just amazing wonderment.
All hand holding and beautiful,
Hmm.
galactic vistas. It's some of it's going to be horrific.
Yeah.
Well, that generally was the review of the episode, but before you click off this video, stick around because we're about to do the thing that everyone's been waiting for. So, Caleb, who gets the Erica Ortegas Award for being the most unlikable?
The Borg baby.
Hate that Borg, baby.
Not a fan. There's nobody else really in this episode I don't really like the Borg babies, if I'm being honest.
That's fine. Totally fine. And I can accept it.
It's my right. It's my right
Well,
as a human not to like robot babies.
fair enough. Well, next is the Elizabeth Cutler Award for the most forgettable character.
It's Wesley this week.
Excellent. Very good. I
He had a pretty big
appreciate
busy
that.
last week. He's just too tired from studying all those rocks.
Oh yeah.
And he just
Yeah.
like robots. I can't be bothered.
We really needed him to come into the conference room or the ready room and say to Picard, like, how do you deal with all of those people who have died?
God, shut up. I just keep thinking about him, Picard.
Well, I didn't want to tilt your hand at all, but Dr. Pulaski isn't even in the episode, so.
Oh man. Good
But yeah,
call.
Wesley is the choice. You have chosen wisely. Next is the Mugatu Award for the best alien of the episode.
That's obviously the Borg.
The Borg.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you kind of learned too that Guinan is an alien.
True. I always assumed Guinan was an alien,
Fair enough.
but I didn't assume that she was 13,000 centuries old. That's
Yeah,
old.
true. Yeah. No, I think it's arguably too much of a miss for you to not pick the Borg for the introduction of the Borg.
Yeah, they gotta be. They gotta be.
Well, perfect. Well, next is the Trip Tucker Award for the MVP of the episode.
Wow. I really hate myself. But You know who the MVP is.
Oh, I'm not sure.
No, you can just summarize it. You don't need me to say it.
I mean, I might say Picard if I didn't have direct direct confirmation.
It's not Picard.
Oh,
It it's got to be. I don't know. I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna give it to Q.
well, how far we've
He's the
fallen.
he's the MVP. Yeah.
You do legitimately sound heartbroken over it.
I don't I don't want to do this anymore.
Oh,
Why are we here?
why?
Just to suffer?
Let's give a moment of silence.
To my dignity. No, I legitimately think that Q is showing them like, you know, there's bad stuff out here. You need to be prepared. Maybe I'm wrong because the rest of the Qs don't want me part of their club anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe you were right. So I'm not really messing with you. I'm kind of still having fun, but also like, being helpful in my
Yeah.
own weird way. And like we said, Picard legitimately decided on his own accord to like go further and further
Yeah. Then what was necessary.
and
Yeah.
make it
Totally.
really bad. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
So you
No.
did it. You can be happy now. You hear
Now
that,
we
Captain
can
Alimar? You hear that?
now
Let me
we
get
can
out.
stop. We don't have to do any more episodes. That was the whole point of this whole
So
thing.
next week's episode is not Star Trek.
We're ending the retrek
We're
review.
done. The retrek is over.
We celebrated our 2 years, and then we brought it to an end.
Hey, thanks
Phew.
everybody for the 2 years. Many more to come.
Just a joke.
As soon
Well,
as Caleb decides that Q is great, we're gonna end it and wrap it up.
we can't really end it until you think Cyrano Jones is great.
Ah, no, no. It'll never end. It'll never end.
Next is the Spock Award for the best line of the episode.
I didn't write anything down. I don't have anything for this line. Last week's episode was nothing but great quotes. This week, I don't remember anything.
There is the back and forth between him and Guinan. He says, "Oh, the arrogance! They don't have a clue as to what's out here." And she says, "But they will learn, adapt. That is their greatest advantage."
Yeah, that's fine. Let's do that.
Okay. Well, we'll have to take it that him and Guinan talking.
Guinan's good.
Excellent. Well, next is the Shran Award for the best action sequence.
That's when the section of the Enterprise gets chopped through. They pulled the core out. That's pretty good.
I'm taking that. It's the
18 people gone.
next is the NX Award for some sweet ship stuff.
You know what? I'm just gonna say I like the Borg hand
Oh, like when he comes in and he's moving the thing.
when he's pulling the data from the computer and his hands like and like all the green electric stuff is
Yes.
coming off it.
Yeah, that's totally fine. That's
Yeah.
some sweet ship stuff. It's just the
That
other
is some
ship.
sweet ships. That's just the bad guy stuff.
Yep. Exactly. Perfect. I love it. Well, then next
Yeah.
is the Porthos Award for the cheesiest thing of the episode.
Is when the Borg takes all the parts off the Borg and then they both get transported. Anyways.
Okay, totally right. Yeah.
Yeah. I like your theory, but not buying it.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I thought maybe it'd be the hot chocolate thing, but yeah, Borg getting
No, I
beamed
like
away.
that.
I understand.
Ooh, and that is some hot chocolate.
Ooh.
Oh,
I'm sure somewhere in production, somebody, when they were telling the actor to pick off pieces from the other actor, they were like, he's doing it for this
that's
reason.
cool.
They just never explained it.
That's cool.
Perfect. Well, lastly, we went to the lowest of lows to now the highest of highs. What gets the Star Trek Enterprise Award for the best scene of the episode?
I think honestly just seeing the cube.
Just the appearance of a
Yeah,
cube. Yeah,
yeah,
okay, cool.
yeah. I like the cube. I like when they shoot it. I like when they show the close up of it combining. I like the interior of it.
Mm,
Everything about the cube is pretty good.
cube.
The cube.
So you're kind of like the cube, the cube getting shot at and like blowing up, and then like the shot of like the pieces of it coming back together.
Just everything you can possibly think of when it comes to the cube.
Ah,
I kind of like when it chases them.
yeah. Yeah, and that we laughed at that part when it was like shoom, shoom. Yeah, yeah, I agree. Well, very cool, Caleb. We appreciate that. Happy to have an exciting episode for you. You've had a couple good ones back to back.
Yeah.
So that makes us
Help me,
happy.
daytime.
Help me. So that was the award ceremony for Q Who. But now it's your turn to go down to the comment section and have your own personal award ceremony where you get to tell us who gets the popcorn award for being the best actor of the episode. When you put down your suggestion down there, remember that it'll influence Caleb himself to make
No,
he
I don't
makes
give in to
his
peer pressure.
recommendation. He does. Peer pressure him.
No, peer pressure. My only weakness.
And then while you're down there writing in the popcorn award, let us know what you thought of the episode. Did you like it? Did you love it? Did you want more of it? Or did you find that this episode was more like Q Who? Let us know down below.
Next time on Star Trek The Next Generation.
Next week's episode is episode 17 of season 2 of Star Trek The Next Generation, and that episode is entitled Samaritan Snare.
Oh, no.
So we'll see what that episode's all about. We're
About
getting
50 minutes, what it's about.
just a little over 40.
It's too much.
We have that to look forward to. We are nearing the end of season 2. Only just a handful of episodes left. Pretty crazy. So stick around while we conclude the season and that episode. But as always, if you liked the review, like the video. If you disliked the review, dislike the video. Share it with all your share it with all your friends and family and Trek enthusiasts. Subscribe so you don't miss a review. And ring that bell so you can watch the review as soon as it comes out. And then, when you're done watching this review, make sure you head on over to Caleb's channel. He has a fun prop channel where he creates cool things from pop culture, like video games, TV shows, movies, anything you can think of. He does 3D prints of Pokemons, and he paints them in cool little things, so you can go over there and check that out if you like Pokemon. But we also do reviews and conversations about other things not always related to Star Trek, like Jurassic Park and Mission Impossible.
Yeah, and they both have new movies coming out that maybe we'll talk about.
Maybe.
I don't know. Probably not.
But also, every single month, him and I talk about Dragon Ball Z. And just like this podcast, where he's never seen Star Trek The Next Generation, I've never seen Dragon Ball Z. So we get a flip of the sides. So if you enjoy us talking about things, first time viewing kind of things, make sure you head on over to his channel and catch anything over there.
Yeah, go over there and you get to see Will say Goku who?
Exactly.
He loves it.
More like Vegeta who?
Oh, I'm getting pretty sick of this anti-Vegeta stuff I've been hearing lately.
So when you're over there and you find a video, like it, comment on it, leave a suggestion of something for him to make or watch, subscribe, but ultimately you decide. We appreciate everybody taking the time to do all the fun, excellent things down below and making our video here look beautiful and helping the algorithm find it and send it out into the ether. We always thank Ed Mark Starr and Captain Olimar for their Patreon support. We appreciate them helping us in that manner. And we look forward to tackling episode 17 next week. We hope you liked Retrek on Screen that came out yesterday. Hopefully YouTube didn't butcher it all to heck. Just something we're trying out here and there. I don't think it'll become a constant thing, but we'll see.
I'm not doing it, Kathleen.
Good. There you go. So that's been the review. So Caleb, send us out.
Okay, computer. Use what we learned from the Borg to train Worf to do his job more effectively and stop asking ensigns to step in. Run a battle simulation where Worf can just flip the Borg on his back over and over.
See you guys.